Hey everybody, this is Chris Serving again, coming at you with Kratom Kingdom, talking about a very, very new potentiator that one of my subscribers told me about, and I'm going to give it a shot right now. So I put a tablespoon and a half of cayenne pepper directly in my kratom powder, mixed it with lemon, which is another potentiator that's totally necessary for your kratom to work. And I'm going to quit saying kratom because it really irritates people, I found out. My mom won't even talk to me if I say it like that because she says it just sounds so ridiculous. It's like saying petroleum instead of gasoline because I live in America and we say gas. But if I lived in Europe, it would be petroleum. So I think just to piss her off, I'm going to start using grams instead of pounds. Because I watched a funny video with Trevor Noah, and he's talking about the differences of proper English versus American English. And he was like, yeah, I went into the store to buy a kilo of sugar. And the guy was like, huh? And he was like, a kilo. And the guy's like, what's a kilo? He said, it's 1,000 grams. And the guy said, what's a gram? And so he walked around the store a little bit and he said, well, where's the sugar at? And then the guy showed him where the bags of sugar were, and he said, he picked up a 5-pound bag of it, and he said, this is LB. What is LB? And he said, that's a pound. And he said, then why not say pound? It's an LB. I'll take 5 LBs of sugar. It was just, I don't know, he's a comedian, so he does it way better. But it just made me laugh about the American language. And when people say speak English, the American language, we speak so far away from the English language that started in this country in 1776. That we bastardized it. Mostly bastardized it because so many other cultures came over and substituted some of our words for their words. I don't know where the word pound came from, but the rest of the world uses kilos or grams because it makes sense. 10 grams equals 1,000 grams equals a kilogram. And I'm not really good with metric system, but I could be very quick. I was used to it when I was working construction because we found it to be more specific and easier to it was just harder to shop for. If I'm looking for 2 by 6 by 12, trying to convert that into meters was really difficult, because none of the lumber stores have their lumber based on the metric system. Nothing in America does, but the rest of the world, England, Europe, China, Asia, they all use the metric system, and we're the only ones that stick with this weird measure of distance. The foot, the yard, the inch. Because everything in grams is based on 10. So if you want 10 centimeters, is gonna, that's one, I don't remember. I'm sorry, but it's all based on 10, and I'm not here to give you a math lesson, so I'm going to stop that immediately and try this with the cayenne pepper and tell you if it has any different results. It tastes kratom's bad, but this is worse. I was going to add turmeric to it, but I wanted to be scientific and test one potentiator at a time. I put lemon in it because citric acid is a necessary potentiator that will help the mitragina or 7-hydromitragina to connect and bind to those neurons in your brain that make you feel like an opiate. So what this guy told me was that 1.5 teaspoons of cayenne pepper specifically will give you more of a euphoric effect, more of an opiate effect. And I really shouldn't have said all that, because that's exactly the words that YouTube listens for. And so this video might not even make it. If it doesn't, I'll post it again under a different name. But anyway, cutting that part out, this specific potentiator is supposed to make it more and in K, I guess we'll say lifted, and plus have a better pain relief, psychological effects are better. And I read several studies directly from the FDA talking about the efficacy of kratom. And according to the FDA, so far in all their studies on animals and children and adults, there has been no medical problems. It hasn't destroyed your brain, it doesn't destroy your liver, it doesn't destroy your heart. The anti-kratom people are the ones that are afraid of the new age, that are afraid of I've been screwed over by more MDs prescribing the wrong thing for me that I almost don't trust them anymore. First thing I ask when I get a new general practitioner is, how do you pick out your prescriptions? Do you just use your computer and say, okay, here's the symptom, what's the dosage and name of the prescription that you need to prescribe? He says, no, I'm very aware of the chemical compounds and what they do. Because my very first GP, or psychiatrist, prescribed me an antidepressant called Wellbutrin, which was supposed to not only mess with your dopamine and serotonin levels, but also your norepinephrine. And it says right on the bottle, do not take if you have a lesion on your brain. Well, I have a hell of a lesion on my brain. And the first day I took it, I went to work the next day as a teacher, stood in front of my class, had a grand mal seizure, fell on my desk, was unconscious on the floor, and the school called the ambulance, and I woke up in the hospital. And I almost lost my job because a doctor prescribed me Wellbutrin, which causes seizures to somebody who had a stroke. I'm just so tired of it. And then I've gone to holistic doctors who have prescribed herbs and dietary supplements and herbs that have completely eliminated situations that I was having. And I couldn't take St. John's wort. I tried, but it just wasn't effective enough, so I went back to a prescription antidepressant, and I've been fairly happy with the one I got. We did have to increase the dosage by 10 grams because 40 milligrams just wasn't working. So we're going to switch it to 50 milligrams, and I think I'm going to be quite happy. I got to keep drinking, so... Whoa, that's terrible. And for those of you that are on my Facebook page that are watching this, hey, how are y'all doing? Also, I want to shout out to Tamara from New Mexico, Sluggo, and Peggy Lyman. Good morning, Peggy, as you say every morning to me. I love it. And DP, thank you for all the support you've given me with kratom and just everything else. It really made a difference in my life. You've helped me, and significantly, because there were times where I would have been out and I get very irritable and very painful when I'm out. So, thank God I get paid September 3rd, and we'll be able to buy another 2 pounds of it, which should easily last me a month and a half. So I'm okay so far. I don't feel anything very different, just tastes terrible. And it seems like these salivary glands on the side where they cut my mouth open are acting really weird because it's causing this weird gunk on the sides of my mouth, and I hate it, but can't go back and fix what stupid dentist did. Should have kept my wisdom teeth. And they weren't hurting anything. They weren't bothering me, but I became of an age, and the dentist said, "You need to get your wisdom teeth taken out." And I was like, "Why?" He said, "Because this is the time when we do it." And I was like, "Well, they're not bothering me. They don't hurt. I don't even feel them coming in." And he's like, "Well, let's just do it." And I was like, "Okay, if you say so, you're the doctor." And I did it. And when I moved to Florida, my tattoo artist lives there, and he was in one or many of the bands I was in, so he's the one that did like all of this and all my whole back and legs, and so he's gonna finish this arm because there's a lot of skin on this arm that needs to be filled in. I'm probably gonna put more flowers, maybe a dragon here, keeping with the Japanese theme, and maybe another Cenobite here from Hellraiser, maybe the Femabite or the Chatterbox. I'm a big fan of Hellraiser and Clive Barker. So anyway, I'm gonna give it till 15 minutes to tell you if I feel any. Oh, I am starting to feel something. I'm getting a tingling in my head, which is pleasant because I know it's going to have some kind of effect. And then all of a sudden my energy has gone to the roof. Like I just had an energy drink. I'm going to keep putting cayenne pepper in my K, because as a potentiator, it is for real. So thank you, whoever told me that. You know who you are. I don't remember 1,000 names. I'm sorry. I just remember the ones that have been with Kratom Kingdom since day one, who have been commenting since day one. And you guys all know who you are. I'm wondering, does anybody know what happened to Ban Everything? That guy was pretty funny. He seemed like a conspiracy theorist to me, and he was just really funny. And we would have some philosophical conversations offline that were pretty cool. But I haven't heard from him in a while since I went off when my computer got stolen. And I intend, when I move to Florida, to spend all my money on equipment for this. New green screens, new computer, new cameras. I mean, my cameras and my micro sound is pretty good now, but it's a little boring. Okay. Once you get used to the taste of the cayenne, it's not so bad. Especially because of the effect. On a 1 to 10 level of being lifted, I would say I'm at a 5 right now, which is way more than I was with just straight kratom and lemon and citric acid. I'm going to try putting turmeric as another herb that you can add to it that's supposed to do the same thing. But I'm going to add turmeric next and see how it compares to cayenne. But I wanted to try cayenne by itself to see how it affected me. And I'll be honest, it's almost making me feel like the very first time I had kratom, when my brain was not accustomed to it at all. I hated the taste of it, but the way it made me feel was worth it, so I continue to drink it to this day. And I did add a little less sugar to it this time because I've been consuming way too much sugar, and my doctor said my sugar counts were a little high in my blood, and diabetes runs very high in my family, so I don't want that with all my other problems. And I really need to find some exercises I can do without because I can't do a push-up because my left arm just won't do it. I can't even lift my left arm up. I mean, if I could do just this with my left arm, I would be so happy, but I can't. Oh wow, I have a birthmark. I never even noticed that. And just so anyone who knows me personally from Facebook or something knows, I never ever wear shoes or a shirt when I'm at home, because I'm from South Florida. We just didn't do that. I mean, it was always 97 degrees in the house or outside of the house, and always have a t-shirt on standby for if we're going to go. I could just throw it on and go to Taco Bell or do whatever I was doing, or go to the club or whatever. But if it offends you that I'm shirtless, I apologize, but that's just who I am. And definitely not trying to show off my body, because after my stroke there's not much here. I shaved today. Shaved and showered and cut my hair again. So I'm feeling pretty productive. I've got my room packed in boxes. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to fit all those boxes in my Honda CRV storage compartments. So I'm going to have to leave some stuff behind or throw stuff away that I really want. And but I'm bringing my I'm not bringing my bed, because that would never fit. I'll just buy another bed online from Amazon like I did this one, and get a better mattress, because the Amazon mattress sucks balls. I mean, it's a foam mattress, but this one, memory foam fabric mattress, but this one goes and stays there for all night. If you lay on it for 15 minutes, you're in a cubby hole and you can't get out of it. Ooh, just burped up cayenne pepper. Terrible. But yeah, you can definitely tell it's affected me, because I'm starting to sound like Trump, just going off on crazy topics. If I start talking about Hannibal Lecter, or how he would love, if he liked you, he would have you over for dinner. I mean, come on. Yeah, you can tell I joke once, but every single rally, come on, guy. Get some new material. I am really sorry. I am not a MAGA fan. However, I might be. I believe in a lot of old Republican ideologies. You know, Abraham Lincoln was the best president we've probably ever had, and he was a Republican. John F. Kennedy was my second favorite. Just the things that he was trying to do for America. You know, and Obama was my third. I mean, I lived a really good life under Obama. My brother, the libertarian, says Obama was terrible. Hated the Affordable Care Act, and I loved it. I mean, it helped me significantly as a older, disabled guy. And, I could afford more things that I can afford now. I mean, food right now is crazy. I mean, where I would have usually spent $50, now I've got to spend $300 on groceries. I mean, a bag of sugar is $6 for 5 pounds. I used to pay $2.90 for it, and now it's $5.99 for a 5-pound bag of sugar. That's fucking thievery. And our national debt is $12 million fucking dollars because of that president who decided to use, as long as the numbers look good, the amount of cash we have in reserve, looks good. It doesn't matter about the debt, because we could just go bankrupt on the debt and not pay these people we owe. And he's talking about, if you're in, what's it called, where all the NATO, if you're in NATO and you haven't paid your share, we're not going to be your ally anymore. In fact, we're going to let your enemies destroy you and take you over as punishment. When this man has never paid a debt in his life. My father actually did some work for him as a contractor, and when the work was done, there was no paycheck. And he knew my dad couldn't sue him, because my dad was a blue-collar worker with no lawyers on hand, and it would have cost my family personally a hell of a lot more than he would have earned, because he was pay. He offered a very low amount of money for the job, so the job, he was getting ripped off anyway, and then to not pay him at all. I mean, how could you do that and then call yourself a good businessman? And so there's no contractors that I know of that will work for him because he's a thief. So if you're a MAGA, I just think you should probably just unsubscribe to my channel, because you're not going to like me. And I'm really sorry, but I believe in the Constitution. If I would call myself anything, I would call myself a constitutionalist. I believe that document is sacred, and the checks and balances involved that MAGA is trying to destroy by giving all power to the executive branch, the founding fathers would be turning over in their grave. I mean, it was working so much better when the Constitution was the law. So hey, let's pick our own Supreme Court justices and let them owe them some favors, so that they do me some favors and get rid of Roe versus Wade. I mean, come on. I mean, a woman could die because she's got something wrong with the baby inside her uterus, but we're not allowed to take it out. And this whole, like, up to 9 months abortion never happens. That's a bullshit lie that these people use to propagate hatred and negativity. And some of my family members are hardcore MAGA, and they won't even allow me on their property anymore, because I'm not. I mean, I grew up in a Democratic family, but there were things wrong with us too, you know. I mean, it's all crazy. I mean, I think the Constitution should be the law. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment. And don't corrupt it, you know, like with being able to say, I'll sell AR-15s that can wipe out an entire school in 15 minutes, you know, or kill 64 kids in 15 minutes with huge round magazines that you don't have to reload for a long time. That's a lot of deaths just to have the right to carry this gun that was meant for the military. I mean, when they made that amendment, we were carrying muskets and single load or single bullet guns, you know, not these guns that the military uses to wipe out cities. I mean, what's to stop it from going to, I want my own personal tank? And if you're rich enough, you can get one probably and call it your Second Amendment right. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm not a political person, and I'm not the smartest person in the world. But anyway, y'all, I've spoken for far too long, and yes, in conclusion, I would recommend cayenne pepper to your kratom if you want a more effective use of this particular herb. And I'm going to try turmeric next and let you know how that does on its own, if it's worth it, because that was one of the first that's when I learned about potentiators. And at the time, citric acid and turmeric were the only two that they talked about. Do a little Google search. What's the best potentiators for kratom, for feeling good, you know, or for pain relief? I mean, if there's something I've got to buy from a holistic store, like ashwagandha or something to add to my kratom, but it'll make you feel like you're on the moon, I'll buy ashwagandha and put it in my kratom. And yes, I feel pretty good right now. I feel no pain. I mean, my neck doesn't hurt, which is amazing. My right shoulder, because I only have one arm, I use my right arm to lift everything. And it gets worn out. And my shoulder, something on my shoulder blade is messed up because of overuse. And my right arm feels pretty loose and free right now. Well, this cayenne pepper gets to the back of your throat and kind of. Another thing you need to know about kratom is it'll act like a diuretic and it'll dehydrate the hell out of you. So you need to drink water when you're drinking kratom, because you'll pee and pee out all your. By the end of the night, my lips are so dried and cracked, and so I started drinking like 4 or 5 glasses of water after 3 o'clock. Quit kratom altogether after 3 and just drink tons of water. Being hydrated is so important, and it feels so much better. And it makes me urinate a lot easier because, kratom just makes you feel like you've got to urinate all the time. And I don't sometimes. I'll stand there for 20 minutes and I'll actually have to sit because I pierced a certain part of my anatomy that I shouldn't have pierced. And now I've got 2 holes on my urethra. So that forced me to have to sit down every time I urinate, which is just another fun fact of Chris. I've never pierced my face except for my ears, and I might put a little piercing right here. Never the eyebrow. It's too insane clown posse, or that new metal bullshit. And it just seems backwoods, generic Jerry Springer going people. I don't like those kind of, or people that tattoo themselves with a needle in India ink, like my dad was forced to in the 40s. But then he was in the army, and he happened to stop at in San Francisco, at one of the most famous tattoo artists' shop, who wasn't famous at the time, but later he was like a tattoo god, and he got an American eagle on his arm as a true American in the army. And he walked into my tattoo artist's shop, who had a picture of him on the wall. I don't remember his name, which makes me a bad person. And my dad's like, "Hey, that's the guy that did my first tattoo." And they were like, "What?" And they took a picture of the tattoo, and they were like, "Yeah, that is the same tattoo that he would do regularly. The way he would put his swipes." And it was like, not Sailor Jerry, but someone of his aptitude. And and then he got a cheesy off the wall tattoo. Like, "Oh, I want that wolf off the wall." I'm like, "Dad, no, don't pick anything off the wall. Let's get something original, something that isn't off the wall." An off the wall tattoo is something my little sister does, and and her sons, have no creativity. They're kind of cheese balls, and they count their tattoos. They say, "I have 5 tattoos, so I could be a tattoo expert now." And I'm like, I can't even count the number of tattoos I have, and you're telling me I know nothing of tattoos and tattoo shops and what looks stupid and what doesn't. I mean, this is kind of silly, but it's a dagger through my heart after my divorce. And this was something that a Clive Barker character that I was obsessed with in the 80s. So in the 80s, my friend tattooed me in his living room, Pinhead, and I was like, it's won awards at conferences and stuff, and it's what I'm most known for in the music scene, because when we would play on stage, I never had a shirt on, and I didn't have a lot of tattoos when I was on stage back then, because I didn't start yet. I was still a teacher and couldn't have full sleeves, couldn't do my neck, my hands, so all I had was this and the ones on my back. And this one, so every picture that people took of, all the pictures that our fans took of us and put us online, you'd always see this, because that was how people knew me. And they were like, "Whoa, you're Chris Irving from Red Roses and a Blue Lady." I'm like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" And they're like, "That tattoo." I'm like, "Oh yeah, my Pinhead." So it's kind of a thing for me now. I don't know, I love it, and it's in a very prominent place on my body. So there's 4 of them in the movie called Cenobites, and I want to get another one of them here to kind of balance out. Otherwise, I should have gotten a whole chest piece of something. But I screwed up and got a tattoo here, tattoo here, tattoo here. You know, so it's like when you put random tattoos, when you can still count the number of tattoos you have, then it ruins bigger, better pieces. Unless you have a really good tattoo artist that can work around it. Like, this was a single tattoo, but somehow he blended it into my entire left arm. And, but he's a top-notch tattoo artist. And I'm gonna stop this right here because this is 30 minutes, and if you've made it this far, you have helped me so much. Alright, y'all. Put cayenne in your kratom and feel the heat. Very good heat. Alright, peace out, people.